What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here with the Black Boss channel. I have a special guest in the building, Dr. Cole. How you doing, Dr. Cole?
I'm good, man. I've been watching you. I see you out here doing your thing, man. I'm a fan, and I'm glad to be able to support in any kind of way. Happy to be on the Black Boss channel.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Dr. Cole. Dr. Cole, we are here today to talk about Kendrick Lamar's album. It's been out since Friday. And it is doing really well, and it's gonna sell a whole bunch, but the concept and the different themes and everything that went into it is just, to me, it's monumental, because I think it is something that music needed. It is a change of pace. It's not something that you're gonna hear in the club, but it is definitely something that you can hear, whether it's the pain, whether it's the everything he's been through the first 30 something years of his life, all come out through music. So Dr. Cole, I'll ask you this. What were your first initial reactions after listening to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers?
Well, I really enjoyed it. I think those are albums that you have to really take time and absorb. You can't really go off your first one. I wanted to hear it a few times. I wanted to read lyrics with it. I wanted to absorb it. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's sacrilege here to say this on here, but I'm also a big Eminem fan. I could see a lot of Eminem influence. He talks about that, that whole Dre team or whatnot. And it felt like when I was a kid, listening to something like the Marshall Mathers LP or Most Def's Black on Both Sides for the first time or something like that, where you got to give it time to really cook and understand where somebody's going. And so I wanted to listen to it a few times. I wanted to listen to it in sequence. I didn't want to bounce around the first time, because everything he does is pretty intentional. And I know he's always trying to tell this larger story. I'm not going to act like I got every single reference. I'm not going to act like I understood exactly how he was feeling in most things, but I felt like I was able to follow for a good chunk of it. And I thought it was just a beautiful album.
Yeah, man. I compared it, and Dr. Cole, you're someone that's worked with a lot of different people throughout, especially Black people throughout all spectrums, right? And I thought, to me, I felt like it was almost like a therapy session. Certain songs related to not only Black culture, good and bad, Black, how you grew up Black, growing up Black, and also someone in Kendrick's perspective who is now rich and famous, but has kept him and his family essentially out of the spotlight from the very beginning. Did you see anything like that throughout the album when you listen to it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole critique on culture. It's a critique on, even the Heart 5, right? Which is not, the hearts are not normally on the album. They like the warm up, but it kind of lets you know what mindset in. And even in that, it was a full critique on culture and the faces that he took, or when he had Will Smith's face talking about hurt people, and that's part of the culture. Or I think he had just a lot of critique around cancel culture. I think there was a lot he had to say just around people not being independent thinkers on their own and kind of making their decisions based off what social media kind of tells them. I think he was very honest in some of the uglier sides. I think that
absolutely,
man, the song We Cry Together with that was a, and Taylor did an amazing job. She's an actress, just gorgeous and smart and super talented. I liked her in Zola and whatever else I seen her in. I know her and the Jesse Williams cat is an item now, but for her to be an actress and to come on and do what she did on that track, I thought was just really good. And I think that I talked to a lot of people after we heard that track, and these are things you won't hear online. And it touched a lot of people very close to home, both men and women in our community. And people can front and act like, they can be the holier than thou type folks. But I think the point was to expose and kind of say, one, y'all ain't the only people that's going through this. And two, how do we kind of elevate past this and stop dancing around the conversation, which is what he said at the end, man. I was just a fan. I just thought it was phenomenal. And I thought it was a really important piece of art. There's people that can look at a Picasso and feel something. There's people that can look at, a certain chord from Mozart, or look at an orchestra and they'll see that art and beauty. And that art and beauty. And I think that Kendrick Lamar albums are that for me. It is moving paintings. You know what I mean? It's the Basquiat of my time. And I'm glad to be here for it.
Man, it's so cool that you say it like that, because there's so many different types of art forms, right? And for me, like you said, Kendrick Lamar, to me, it's like how people get mesmerized with a good sermon. right? When you go to church and you hear, I mean, people don't just fall out and faint because I mean, when I was a kid, I used to think that was a an act, right? People were like, man, ain't no way you really feeling like that. There's like, ain't no way you really catching the Holy Ghost like that, man. And then when I got older and I would hear certain things, and I'm like, man, that actually did touch me. I mean, I didn't act like that, but it like you feel some type of way. And so certain songs on this album, certain things like that, when we cry together, like Mr. Morale, you hear some things like, yo, like this dude is rich, this dude is famous, this dude is a hip-hop legend, right? And he is putting on wax these things that everyday people feel, right? That they're so relatable, that actually touches people, but then also brings you to the conclusion like, yo, we have to be better than this. I'm not judging you for going through these things because obviously I'm putting this in a song because either I went through something similar or somebody around me went through something similar.
Through that. It was
you know what I'm saying? Like that was too real, wasn't it?
He's definitely been there. It's definitely happened. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah, like, or even the track where he was talking about the times he slept with white women. It was like, yo, who would think of something like that? Like, who is like, nobody is it's like his music is on an elevated level. Like, who's putting on the times that they slept with white women, and he mentions his woman that he's with now and how she felt about it. Like, he even told like Whitney said so or something. Like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, I thought he was very honest, and I think that I don't know if you listen to 444. It's like his version of that. And I mean, he's talked about, I mean, he's been with his partner, his lady, for a long time. And I think those things happened while they were together. And I think it was kind of his, like, they went through whatever they went through, whatever therapy or whatnot. And I think he's trying to, kind of bear it off for her. And I think there's even, because there's at the end, I think it's the I forget which song. It's one of the last 2 or 3 songs where she's on the track and she says, thank you. And that's when his kid jumps in and is like, thank you, Dad, for breaking these, these traumas. Well, she said, thank you for breaking these generational traumas or whatnot. So listen, I think Kendrick is his own person. I think he has a different type of ear. I think he has an amazing team at TDE. I think he has an amazing big brother and supporter in like Dr. Dre. I mean, I look at, like, Dr. Dre is to Kendrick what Boyce is to you, right? Like, I think it's like he has his contemporaries, everybody from people like Andre 3000, Wayne, and Eminem that he can get on the phone and talk through stuff with, to all these people that kind of look up to him. And then, he's in this class with the J. Coles and the Drakes, and he clearly cares about separating himself from the pack. So I think he's an amazingly talented young man. I think even for him to drop his album and be in Ghana when it drops and not do a traditional run is like he playing soccer with black kids in Ghana right now. Like I just think it's pretty cool. And listen, and I'm not one of them people. If it's something that you're not feeling, that's cool. It's something that you're not feeling. I'm not gonna say you bad or stupid or dumb. Like, I hate that this age of the internet, right, where everything gotta be combative. Because there are some other dope bodies of work that I appreciate the artistry, but may not be fully feeling it in the same way. So you feel like you want to feel. But I'm grateful for the album. I'm grateful for Kendrick Lamar. Just gave a lot of young black men permission to go get therapy. Yeah, that's what just happened.
Yes, and I completely agree with you because it's something like you said, different strokes for different folks. A lot of the music that's being put out right now, a lot of people, depends on what generation you're from, you either criticize it or praise it, right? Like if you're an older generation, you're like, oh, we don't listen to that, so-and-so mumble rap, whatever. Like someone like Future dropped 2 weeks before, right? They're not listening to the Futures. They want to listen more.
A lot of people do, though. A lot of people do.
No, he's selling. He sell out everywhere he goes. So somebody listening to it. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, it's like you can't like both. Like I can like both just in different fashions. I rock with the Future album. That Tim song with Drake is on. Wait for You is on repeat. He had a dude ESTGs from Louisville. That song is on repeat. The Chicken song, you can appreciate both in different facets. I do really like Kendrick in this album and the way it was laid out and the content that was in it, because he touched on, like you said, sensitive topics, a lot of sensitive topics. He even addressed, and he's someone that's been in the music industry. One of the things he talked about was the way we kind of like hip hop specifically looks at women, right? The way and then I think it was the one of those songs at the end, the Auntie's Diaries or Mr. Morale, where he talked about how like your favorite rapper might have got touched inappropriately at some point throughout their life. That's a topic you don't hear in a lot of music, man.
And I was a social worker, man.
Something like that.
And I was a social worker. Like, I know those numbers. I know the numbers of Black boys that have actually been sexually assaulted during that time. Like, I knew that a lot of boys that came through our foster care system had something inappropriate happen, whether it be from a man or a woman, right? Like, these are not things that's necessarily talked about. They're not comfortable conversations. And I think he even looked at it from both perspectives. I think he was kind of releasing the person that did that, whatever, to his moms. And even on your future point, right? I think he addressed it. Like, Kodak Black is all over the album. I think
absolutely
that's why he put him there, right? Like yo, he like, I'm much closer to this type of person. I understand this type of guy, and like, you know what I'm saying? It's I thought, listen, man, all of it ain't gonna be interpreted. We might miss something again. There might be some things that we don't ever know about, but I appreciate the artistry and I appreciate the music of it. Like, I like the music. I like the way he arranges things and switches stuff up and plays with different flows and plays. I think, and you can just read it too. Like, even if you don't like the music, you don't want to hear it, like, you can download, like, you can just read the lyrics, like, read it like a book, and it reads beautifully. It reads, you know, some people might get mad at this, the same way people like to read Langston Hughes or Baldwin. Like, I like reading a Nas, a Lupe Fiasco, a Lauryn Hill, and a Kendrick Lamar. I like reading what they're saying because it's a lot in there.
Oh yeah, there's music is always jam packed, like you said, with innuendos, synonyms, homonyms, all that stuff, and yeah, sometimes you don't even hear it. Like right. The music overlaps the words, and you're like, oh, I didn't realize he said that. Like I love watching. I don't always go read the lyrics, but one thing I do with a lot of big time artists like Kendrick and Nas is I go watch like breakdowns. So obviously someone else has read the lyrics, and they're kind of breaking it down to me, and it's like, oh my god, I've heard this song 1,000 times. And I never caught that. Like, I never like understood that part was in there. I know we're talking about Kendrick, Charles, but who is someone else that you kind of like? I know you mentioned a few of them, but you read their lyrics and then you grasp something that was just like, yo, this is what music is about. This is
easy. I have a ton. I'm a hip hop head, man. So Royce the 5'9", Eminem, DMX. I love, like, when I was in high school. See, I'm a little older than you too. So I'm from that era. I'm from that era where you get a CD and then you break open the CD and then the book, they got the booklet and the lyricists will always have their lyrics in the book. Like, other rappers, I remember that. I'm not that young. I remember that stuff, but I'm just saying, right? Like, you know,
I didn't always read that booklet though, but I get what you said. I was
you can tell who the lyricist was because they wanted you to read it. But Black Thought from the Roots, I mean, Andre 3000, it's always something in Andre 3000. And Lauryn Hill, I think Lauryn Hill's pen is just harder than most people's. You know what I'm saying? Her being late to shows with notwithstanding, like, she's just incredible with a pen. I listened to who else from that? Just, I mean, there's a bunch of people. I mean, Hove, obviously. Jay-Z always got some double, triples, and all that stuff in there. But there's like Lupe Fiasco. I think Lupe Fiasco is one of those folks that's very Kendrick is very Lupe-ish at times, where there are some songs that Lupe Fiasco got, and you got to really like go through them a bunch of times. You know what I'm saying? It's really good. They're really, really talented people. So I mean, I have a whole list of it, man.
Absolutely. Once again, we're talking to Dr. Charles Cole. We're talking about Kendrick Lamar's latest album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe. Now, Dr. Cole, when we're talking about Kendrick, his album will probably sell like, 300,000.
It's at, I think, 325, something right
325. Now. Okay, 325. It'll this album will probably go platinum. It's almost going gold the first week. But do you think we'll see more? Because Kendrick's in a rare boat, right? There's a lot of like what they would call like conscious rappers that kind of go on a deeper level of thinking. They're not all hype, not something you're gonna hear in the club, but they're not the ones that are being promoted the most. Kendrick is in the rare air of rappers who don't really make hype music, who don't make singles, but can go gold and platinum just off name value alone. Do you think you'll see more of a wave or maybe even a mainstream backing of more rappers that kind of sound like, nobody can sound like Kendrick Lamar, but they kind of take that lane and take that wave or no? What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, listen, man, I don't think lyricism is ever going to really go away. I think that, and sure, some people sell less or whatnot. I mean, if this was 10 years ago, this would have sold 1 million out the gate, right? Like 330 would have been a huge disappointment. Now it's like one of the biggest of the year so far, right? So
Yeah.
I think there'll always be people that come and go from it. I think that there's a new wave of folks that have lyrics, and sometimes the mainstream will get behind them, sometimes they won't. But I think if you just are consistent and you grow your fan base. So for instance, Black Star also had an album come out a week before Kendrick. They only put their stuff out on Luminary. Luminary is like a proprietary app for podcasts. Like that's where Dave Chappelle's podcast is at, and a few other people's, right? Talib Kweli's podcast is there, and they put their album there because Mos Def does not like DSPs. He is offended that you would try to give him a piece of a penny to listen to his music. So I respect it, right? But I think that they might not sell a gazillion records, but their core fan base already has that app, got that app, and will be at every single show, and it'll just live on in that way. I don't know. I think when you get too caught up in the numbers game is when you see really dope people lose themselves. And I'm trying, you try not to do that. Like you and I do a bunch of shows online. We can both say there are some shows, bro, that don't nobody see, man. Like 5, 10, 20 people. And then there's some stuff, that blows up. And I think that's actually good though, because at the beginning, you just focusing on quality. You're not being a slave to those numbers. And I'm glad Kendrick is not a slave to those numbers. Like, what's my single going to be? How I'm going to do this? How can I kind of placate to this audience? And so to answer your question in a very long-winded way, my bad, Jeff.
It's all good, man. It works. It works. Ain't no rush, man. And I love everything about it. But keep going.
We'll always have our person. There'll always be our people, whether it's the J. Cole's or the Kendricks, and there'll be a new crop after that. But regardless of that, I would love for artists or people that critique culture or whatever it is that people think that we do. I would like for us to focus on the quality, our core message, and who is the core audience that we want to talk to. My work is to talk to younger me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's who I talk to. I didn't have it, right? So whoever else picks up on that, that's a blessing. But I can't worry about that. And I think that's the lane a Kendrick plays, and whoever's going to follow that kind of needs to be in that same vein.
Now, Dr. Cole, with this album, I called it like it's like Black Man Therapy Session, right?
Absolutely.
Because it deals with a lot of the things that not just Kendrick's gone through, but like a lot of us Black men. Obviously, we don't all have the same path, right? You're a doctor, I'm not. That's just one example, but there's a million examples. But there's a lot of things that we go through that are similar, right? A lot of things that we do that are like super relatable. Like I'm sure there's something in your past that I'm like, yo, I went through that same thing. What I'm asking though is when it comes to a therapy session, how significant do you feel like therapy should be in our community, specifically for young Black men?
I mean, I think listen, man, whether it's, I was a social worker, so we couldn't go more than 2 or 3 weeks without having some type of clinical check-in, or you couldn't go out in the field, right? Like, so, that's really important. I think that having some type of outlet and something that can help you be reflective, especially in this ever-changing world, is really important. I think that as Black men, we are taught to hold up a lot of stuff. Listen, man, you cannot train me in the jungle and then put me on concrete and then be like, that nigga acting like a baboon. Like that's not like, and what I mean by that is if you grow up in communities or places where you got to keep your head on the swivel, I have to watch out for white cops. I done been pulled over. I don't know if you saw my video where I got pulled over my cologne on my way to Kentucky, but I also have to watch out for cats in the hood. You know what I'm saying? You have to be on this swivel and be, aware of your surroundings. But as an adult, people just think you paranoid. And it's like, wait, how does that work? There is something inherent about being a young Black man in this country and a young Black woman, but you asked me about us, where we are grown up with these like competing themes of normalcy, and we're always been made to like have to adjust, and however we adjust is initially going to be really wrong in a different place that can cause us harm, whether it's you slipping on the block and getting robbed, or you getting fired in the boardroom because you command and respect in a way that you would in the streets. So you need a place to talk this stuff out so you don't feel crazy, so you don't feel, you know what I'm saying? So like, listen, man, we Black men, bro. A lot of times we the most valuable when we dead, in trouble, or when we are just totally emasculated, right? And have to make ourselves smaller than everything around us. Those is 3 messed up, jacked up doors to have to, you know, and that will drive you crazy, man. And I work with young black men where it's like, yo, some of them is like, I don't know, man, they kind of almost scared to be proud of who they are and what they come from. And I use all that stuff as a tool, man. I'm a square, bro. I grew up as a square where I'm at. But it's crazy in white spaces or these education spaces, even with some of these Negroes, man. They'll have people thinking that you Tony Montana out here. You know what I'm saying? So how does that work? It don't. It don't. I got to give you shorter answers though, Jeff. My bad, bro.
No, it's good because it plays right into what was talked about in the album. It's funny you said the swivel thing. He talked about that, having your swivel from the dudes in the hood and also on the cops. Mm-hmm. But it plays into all of that because, like you said, you looked at a certain way, and if you act and portray yourself as a certain way, it don't matter. Like you said, something as simple as command and respect or not tolerating disrespect can see you as, you know, the angry black man. It's like, nah, I just don't get down like that. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, you a man, I'm a man. We're going to talk to each other like men, but we ain't going to little boy me. You're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to come to me like, and that can happen in certain spaces. I've been there. Most certainly you have before too as well.
Absolutely. Man, let me tell you, bro. Let me tell you, you know who we should be talking about? We should be talking about this cat. We should be talking about, and I think it's a perfect example. One is one of the best books. I read this long before everything happened. Yeah. One of the best books I read, and the audiobook is super dope. But that's a perfect example of a black man who came up in a certain environment, but then transformed himself and made himself into the biggest star in the world. Absolutely. And still faces all this disrespect and then loses his stuff on one of my favorite comedians. And this is the thing. I love both them cats. I don't agree with how Will Smith moved in that moment. I think it was kind of a sucker move the way he did it. And at the same time, I understand because his whole book is about him being a coward. The whole book is about him feeling like a coward, feeling like he couldn't protect his mom when she was being beat by his father, feeling like he couldn't protect his friend who might have been being assaulted and he didn't do nothing to say nothing. And always trying to be that for his wife or his daughters or whatnot, right? Like, so it's this mental quandary, bro, that will eat at you. And it is, ironically, it is the Dave Chappelle skit of when keeping it real goes wrong that like you and I and other people too, but I'm talking about us right now. Yeah. We will find ourselves in a keeping it real going wrong moment. I find myself so close to it all the time. I already think I'm gonna lose everything, Jeff. I already think I am, bro. And what I tell people, I said this on our show Sunday, just don't be the reason. Because if I'm gonna lose everything, I'm gonna make it worth it, fam. Like I'm gonna make it worth it if I gotta lose everything. Yeah.
No, you're right. Because like you said, there's a constant battle of, you know, you can't have nobody, you know, you can't have nobody think you know punk, no disrespect, but you also have to realize, like, yo, is this worth losing everything, right? Like, is this worth, like, I've built myself up, like, to get to this point from wherever you come. And I know your story a little bit, Dr. Cole. I know you come from some rough times, and it's like, is this, like, whatever this incident is, like, whatever it might be, as small as it is, as big as it is it worth losing everything that I built myself from nothing from?
I know, bro, but you gotta ask. But you know, in the moments, man, that you're always able to
you're right,
that, bro. When you are when you raised in the jungle, bro, like I gotta stop using jungle references because people with racism. It's because of racism. I can't use a very good metaphor, by the way. But I love the metaphor. But here's the thing, bro. You can't put my heart in an ice box and then get mad at me because that thing's solid. You know what I'm saying? You can't teach me that I got to be emotionless and this, that, and the third, and I got to let stuff shrug off and I can't feel and this, that, and all this. And then now black men are the problems of everybody now. Now we scaring white people. Now, you know, like the internet, not actual people, but the internet would have you think that black men and black women can't get along, which I will never accept that. I love black women and the ones in my life love me. You know, but now you back to hearing how you the problem. Jeff, every time you read something every day on that internet that you real good on in them Twitter streets, you the problem. You the problem. right? Like, damn, I didn't know I was the problem. How is that happening, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's you gotta have a space where you can talk about that stuff, you can figure that stuff out, and you can be yourself. Like, it can't be a crime to be you.
Yeah, no, you're right about that, and it's interesting when you talked about Will Smith and you talked about how his whole life he was a coward. I mean, if people look at you a certain now, not just in his perspective, I'm just talking about from a black man, whether young, old, middle age, whatever. If you looked at it as a punk, people will try you, like, and they will try to get over you, and that's the thing. You do have to have a certain level of bravado, a certain level of gangster, a certain level of whatever to let folks know, like, hey, I'm not to be messed with. Like, I don't know, I might present myself a certain way, whether it's online, in person, or whatever. But don't just think you better. This ain't no lollipop over here. I ain't no sucker. Like, hey, you ain't about to do me whichever kind of way, because if you allow that to happen, people will get over you all the time.
Absolutely will. Amen. I don't have even a comment. It's reality.
Because and that's the thing. So, but like you said, it depends on who you're talking to. I just think that for me, I can only speak in my situation. For me, obviously, there's a time and place for everything. And I have put myself, and this might be a good or a bad thing, and this is like the balance, right? That I think even for myself, I struggle with, is that those emotions. I'm more of a logic over emotion is what I tell my to anybody that listens to me. I always try to process, like you said, sometimes it's split second. You got to make decisions or whatever. You're put in situations where, but I try to process things, and sometimes they can allow me to be a little cold-hearted. Like, I don't always feel sorry for people, because it's like, yo, man, like, I know, I can't feel sorry for you on that, because I know someone like Dr. Cole who had nothing and you had everything, and you making excuses for why you're acting this way, and that man went on to become a doctor, or myself or whatever. It's like, so, but some people that might be a little cold-hearted, or that might be a little, rough or whatever. What are your thoughts on stuff like that?
I think the world don't care about our feelings. I think that we're in a moment, but we are like getting to a place where we feel like the world should care about how we feel. And I think that, like, regardless how you feel or think about something, this world gonna keep turning. Bills still got to get paid. You still got to get up and eat, right? And so, I think that there are some things that warrant our emotions, some things that warrant our reaction. But I think that we are in a space where we just giving some things just way too much attention that it don't deserve, and it's just causing a lack of respect for us as a people, right? Like, everybody's issues ain't the same. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, man, there's a lot of people right now whose lives are so good that they can spend all day going through celebrities' Twitter feeds or their enemies' Twitter feeds and finding stuff that they said that they don't like so they can cancel them. You know how good your life gotta be, Jeff? You know how good things gotta be for every time somebody say the wrong thing, you gotta like be on top of it. Like that's like your lifestyle. Like, and I don't think people understand that. And I think we read about our ancestors and we want to feel like we're in a struggle, but things are different for a lot of people, man. Listen,
different.
I used to pray for Encyclopedia Britannica when I was a kid, because I thought that whoever had that would be a genius. All this knowledge. Now everybody got one of these. You got more knowledge in your hand than Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Socrates could ever get their hands on. Spend the night, wherever at any library. I don't know if Socrates had a library, but the point is that I will take the good fortune and blessings that my ancestors fought for me to get here. I will take the energy from me growing up homeless and living in them 4 shelters and going to 11 schools and living in the Chicago area, Kentucky and Oakland and all that stuff. And I will use it to my benefit to build skills that help my people and make me money so I can survive. Black people, not only do you need some way to protect yourself, I think we all need LLCs. I think you all need something, a way that you can earn. And the reason why I respect you and really Dr. B a lot, right, is because Dr. B has built up his own stuff. Feel how you want to feel about him, agree or disagree with him. He can say what he wants and not worry about cancellation, because you can't cancel yourself. You know what I mean? And I think that as long as you don't have any type of financial independence in that, this level of anxiety is going to be a monster for you.
Yeah. Like,
a monster.
Because ain't nothing like not knowing if you're gonna be able to have the lights on. You know what I mean? There ain't nothing like not knowing if you can't go eat that night. You know what I mean? Ain't no anxiety worse than those type of if you're gonna be able to pay your rent or whatever like that. Like that level of anxiety. So that's why it's like being self-sufficient, being able to make money from whatever skill that you've acquired is awesome. No, I completely agree with you.
And you can do real emotional work. You can do real therapy. You have real problems in your life if you turn off this computer that you need to go and like deal with. You know what I mean? Like you got to be able to separate the issues that can hinder your growth and hurt your family and your offspring from what Twitter or Facebook is telling you is important. You know what I'm saying? And like, 'cause those things rarely work out for us. They usually don't work out for us.
And circling this back to the Kendrick Lamar album, I think that the internet culture is its own thing in itself, right? Like it is totally different than any era beforehand. Because like you said, the internet culture will have you thinking that talking about things in real life are bad. It's like, no. Like these are actual real things. Like this is real life things that are happening in me or to me or to whoever in real life. But I got to get canceled because I don't agree with the status quo. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, listen, bro. That false flagging, that it's a lot of people that got a lot of stuff to say about. Like, I grew up homeless for real, right? Like, it's like somebody saying, "I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm doing this for you," but. Like, I mean, can you give me some bread? Like, can you help me get some bread? So I appreciate if I was that kid now, I'd be like, I appreciate you flagging it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, but can you actually help me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or do you want to just be perceived as being helpful? You know, and I think I think all we're doing in that type of culture, bro, we're not actually helping people evolve. We're only teaching them how to hide better. Like we're not teaching people how to actually be in community with each other, right? And deal with the issues that they got. You know how apartheid ended? Do you know what happened? Like when the agreement was?
No,
I'll tell you for the people that's listening. The agreement was everybody would be absolved from their crimes, black, white, or whatever, if you come to the square and admit what you did. So we can begin the healing process. Black, white, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Black to black, white to white, white to black. You know what I'm saying? Especially white to black. You feel me? Nobody will be punished for these crimes under apartheid as long as you come to this square and you say what you did so we can begin the restorative process and healing, right? When we talk about restorative justice, that's what we're talking about, bro. It's like taking like actual accountability and like not just a way for me to publicly shame you, but yo, how did this thing kind of cause harm? So when we talk about a Kendrick album and he talks about the Auntie's Diary song, which was super powerful.
Yeah.
Super powerful. And he's talking about it in a way where it's like, I am admitting what I didn't know. I am admitting my love for my aunt, who is no longer my aunt. I am admitting what I used to say. And I'm admitting how I felt about this other person in this other situation where my aunt had empathy for me. Damn, do I have to have empathy for this white girl? Like Kendrick is asking you questions. He ain't answering it for you, but he's asking you questions to consider. That's the importance of his work. That's the importance of that album. And that's the importance of us having conversations that are more than just gotchas, that are more than just who can be the wokest in the moment, right? Like, and I always say this when I go on people's shows or I do my own show. You want the right answer or you want the real answer? I know both. I know the right answer that I need to say because the Twitter stock market of society has told me what is acceptable. But the real moment of like, this is how I grew up. This is how I feel. This is what I'm feeling right now. And it might be fucked up. It might be wrong. It might be crazy. But like, I'm willing to confront that with you. And we can confront that together. And that's how we truly have empathy for each other. And that's how we truly grow as a society.
Yeah, and I love that point, Dr. Cole. I love all of that. And just reflecting back on the Kendrick album, I think it also tells us because society has changed, right? Like
Absolutely.
like what was acceptable, I mean, as recently as 2005,
right,
may not be socially acceptable in 2022. Like it's just, I mean, it's just we've had a bunch of movements, whether it's Black Lives Matter, Me Too, stop Asian hate, whatever. Like there's
Right.
been 1,000,001 movements that have taken place over the last, 5 years. I said 20 years, really, like over the last 5, 6, 10 years. And so therefore, like you said, but you still have to have some type of core value. You still have to have something that's valuable to you. And
Amen.
you can't just conform. You can't conform just because it might not be socially acceptable doesn't mean you have to conform who you are to the core to fit what's going on in society or what they tell you is acceptable. And that's one thing I love about music and guys like Kendrick Lamar is that, like, hey, these things have been accepted in our community for a long time. That don't mean that it's cool. But then there's things in our community that we hold valuable and that is good to our core. Doesn't mean we have to change just simply because society is telling you that you're not supposed to act that way anymore. No. Some of that stuff is still good stuff. Grandmama's sayings and granddaddy's sayings and mama's sayings, that stuff worked for centuries, for generations, and it got you to where the point you are now.
Bro, the greatest woman in my life name is Ozetta Hooper. She was my grandmama. She raised me in Paducah, Kentucky, where my parents was on that stuff. And it was the happiest time of my life. And those rules, you know what I'm saying, that she gave me, man, and what my grandmama would say, man, is that you an apple tree. Yo, apple trees don't have to try to bear apples. They just do. You know what I'm saying? Like there's greatness in us and in our people. You know what I'm saying? And I think that you have to see value in who you are. And looking at the internet is not going to make you, as a black man specifically, a black woman specifically, is not going to make you have value. What it is right now, it is a grab of attention of, okay, this is the oppressed group of the moment. Where can I find my better oppression so we can then rise up on these people and then we be this new people or whatever the case is, right? Listen, man, we live in a place that's racist. We live in a place where a white boy can go up and shoot up a grocery store with our people in it. We live in a place where we hung from trees, bro. Like this is the place we live in, and we also live in a place where you can go from nothing and become something. We also live in a place where, I can come from 2 drug-addled parents who eventually got their life together and work my butt off. And I'm still struggling. My student loans is crazy. I'm not paying them things, except that as my those are my reparations right there.
Yeah.
Like there is both. 2 things can be true at the same time. We live in a super racist, white supremacist society, and yet there's still a ton of opportunity that I have here, more so than 90% of the other places across this globe. I've traveled outside of this country. I've been to those places where running water, clean water is still a luxury. Like I've seen it, you know what I mean? So it makes me grateful. So yeah, bro, you went to 11 elementary schools? That sucked. You lived in 4 shelters? That sucked. I look at it as that's a blessing God gave me to get to callous me enough to be able to handle this world and handle my business and potentially do some good. I've done a whole lot of bad and a whole lot of good. And I'm hoping that when it comes out in the wash, that I've done more good than bad. And I've made Ozetta Hooper proud, who's been dead since I was 10, 11 years old. I hope when she was dying, Jeff, she said to me, baby, I earned this. Like, you got to let me go. I earned this death. Like, there is something better coming for me. That's why I believe in what I believe in, because I saw that woman's eyes, and when she was ready to go and she was genuinely happy. I pray that I get to put enough in this world like she did, and I deserve and earn my death when it comes for me, because it will come for all of us. You can high side, you can front for the internet, you can lie to yourself about who you are, you can hide them emotions, you can hide the shit that you did, but she's coming. Death is coming for everybody. Will you be ready for that? And that's what I live for, not twitter.com.
Yeah. It's definitely coming. And what will they say about you when you're gone? Right. Like that. What legacy will you leave? What will they say about you? What impact would you have made by the time your time is here? Because like you said, everybody's time's coming. I might not wake up tomorrow. So it doesn't matter. Dr. Cole, I'll get you out on this, man. This has been a great conversation, man.
I can go however long you want. I know you a busy man over there, though, bro.
Yeah,
you can do this more, man. We might just have to make a show, bro. But go ahead. Man.
Absolutely. I'll get you out on this, man, because you dropped so many gems. I definitely want to get in on another time. Just reflecting on the album, man, and just reflecting on our people, because that's who we're referring to. We're talking about Kendrick Lamar, but we're really talking about our people and the music that he is creating he's creating for the world. But I think it really, really says a lot about our people in this music. Just what kind of growth have you seen from Kendrick? Just from someone who loves hip hop, who loves music, and Kendrick now I think has like at least 5 or 6 full length albums.
Yeah.
What kind of growth have you seen from him from the beginning or whenever you first discovered Kendrick until now?
I mean, his skill level is just off the charts. His creativity. I mean, Good Kid, Mad City is actually my favorite album from him. Still, I love it. It got some bops on there. It got some deep stuff on there. It got his lyricism on there. I mean, when Jay-Z got to hop on one of your songs, it's kind of like a stamp. Jay-Z hopping on his songs at that time. He wasn't even hopping on J. Cole's, and that was his artist at the time. Yeah. So I think that his growth has been, he's seen more things, man. And I think he's also seen that money, while it has helped him and his family, does not necessarily make him happy. And I think that he is being really reflective. And I think in this stage of his life, as being a new dad with 2 young children and trying to be a better husband and trying to grow from that and trying to like be above that and be honest with himself, I think that he's trying to grow as a man. And a lot of you might have a lot of young people listening. I would listen to this album and have a conversation. I would also listen to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill and have a conversation. I think this reminds me, not sonically necessarily, but it just has that Miseducation kind of vibe, bro. Like Lauryn Hill was just in her bag in that album. Like it just was.
It was literally the skits and stuff were inside of a school. It was literally teaching you something.
It is. I think about that. I think about Mary J. Blige's My Life. I think about what I'm saying? It's just certain albums, what I'm saying, both men and women. I think it's a good album for women to listen to have a perspective of a man that's actually on their way trying to do something. I think it's a great, album for men to listen to with their sons. I think for moms to listen to with their sons. And I also think that dads should listen to Miseducation with their daughters and just have a conversation. I think that these are things that can bring us together. I can't afford a Basquiat painting behind me. This is from Home Goods or something. That was like $20. I don't know what it means. I just thought it looked nice. I don't see nothing in there that's super deep. Somebody did, but I see something in this man's music. I see something in our generation, our culture's music. And so, you ain't got to love it. You ain't got to like it, man. But I think that it was a glowing look into just some of the things that we go through in our psyche, because he says so many things that I never would have thought could be a song. And there were some songs where I felt naked listening to, bruh. I was like, come on, man. Hey, come on, bruh. Get up out of here, bro. Because I ain't perfect. You can ask an ex-girlfriend about that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like, and everybody trying to present something that's perfect. I ain't perfect, man. I like, you know what I'm saying? You got to accept, that's the beauty of leather, brown leather when it patinas when it gets old and it starts to take on a different shape and it starts to look, and you like that worn in look. And we got to start seeing ourselves as patina jewels, bro. And you got something to value, man. And whoever's watching Jeff Lightsy, man, I'm just really proud of you, bro. And there's a lot of value that you have for people your age, younger than you and older than you. So very much like Kendrick, I think that you are digging into deep recesses of who you are and having tough conversations that a lot of people not able to have. And I will have your back, whether I agree or disagree. I haven't really disagreed with you on much, but whether I agree or disagree, I will have your back for the simple fact of what we talked about today. Because I did not have a Jeff Lightsy Jr. that I could look at when I was younger going through it.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. This is Dr. Cole, though, and I'm glad we have a Dr. Charles Cole III, because he is always on point. He's always teaching us something new, man, whether it's about the patina, because I didn't even know what that was, the patina leather, whatever is going on. Dr. Cole, let the people know where they can find you, and thank you so much for coming on, man.
Oh, absolutely. So you can find me here on YouTube if you're watching, Dr. Charles Cole, youtube.com/Dr. Charles Cole III. Just put the name in. I should come up on Instagram and Twitter. Twitter is where I tend to be a little bit more active and can talk back. It's @CCole III, and you can go to my website, charlescole3.com, and see some of my work. You can get my book there, Beyond Grit and Resilience. See when I'm on tour, when I'm speaking, and I'll be back home in Oakland I leave tomorrow, but Thursday we're premiering this movie about two Oakland boys that are stepbrothers and just what they go through living in Oakland and the relationship they got with their stepdad. And I will be hosting a conversation with one of the young boys from the movie. So, you know, I'm just trying to give back, bro. I'm just trying to live the life that I dreamed about unapologetically. I'm trying to put something in there and do it in style, B. So that is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Once again, you can find Dr. Cole right there at charlescole3rd.com. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and we will see you next time.